Online week 2. I hope this is working technology. Welcome to choir. I know some of you have hopefully getting in maybe for the first time to Facebook Live tonight to see choir. Lily just got out and got all kinds of stuff in her further. Hey, so I'm excited to be here on Wednesday again. We're trying 2 different things on Facebook Live and YouTube, and we're seeing what works best. But hey, Swanner family has been busy, or tried to keep busy during this really crazy time. Lily's hair is growing out significantly, and her groomers are all closed right now. Let's see, what else? Preston has been running a lot. He's in cross country anyway, so he's been running a whole lot. Caroline has been learning some new skills. Hey, Caroline's one of my camera people right now. What did you do yesterday? What did we make?
We made crepes.
We made crepes, okay, like French crepes.
Yes.
It was really good with Nutella and strawberries.
I made sausage balls too. That's what you're talking about.
Yes,
I did not know what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's like nothing.
Kate's on a walk right now. I can't tell you, we've taken our dog on so many walks in the last 7 or however many days. She is so confused, but she's getting her steps in for sure. And in the meantime, my laptop screen has died, and had to get it fixed during all this. So crazy things are going on right now. But we're trying to stay busy. Amy's teaching and learning to adapt online. Preston, what have you been doing besides running?
Playing Xbox.
Playing a lot of Xbox, but you're also, what book are you reading right now? You've read the title.
Goodness.
Okay, he's read 100 pages, but doesn't know the title. Okay.
You don't look at the title of the book.
You don't look at the title. You just read it.
I've
The
been
pages.
reading Lord of the Flies.
Caroline's reading Lord of the Flies.
Because I'm a smart person.
And I am, adjusting to working at home. It's been different. It's been kind of interesting. I'm working my way through calling all the choir, and that's going really well. I love it. Love that I get to stay in touch. And hey, remember, if you need anything from me, I'm looking at the other camera here. If you need anything, my cell number, 214-709-4298. In fact, Amy is looking at the comments. Do you mind putting my cell number in those comments? That might be helpful. So when you see 214-709-4298 show up, you'll know that's me, and you can answer. I'm not scamming you, okay, or whatever, scam risk. Hey, last week we asked you to respond. I see a lot of responses coming in. This week, I want to know what you're doing during quarantine. I think all of us say things like, if I only had time, I would do, fill in the blank. Organize closets, read a certain book, or read, period. Maybe learn to do something. Mine, the fun thing yesterday, Caroline and I were both working on the crepe making. That was a lot of fun. So I want to use this time to do something that I wouldn't have normally done. Some of that, for me, is going to be reading as well. And doing some things around the house that I just wouldn't normally have done. So I do want to use this quarantine for something useful. Reading is great, and really studying the Bible. Guys, we've got time now, and there's so many options and sources for Bible studies and things that you can be doing. So let's use this time. Let's stay well and use this time the best we can. So hey, fill in the blank. What are you doing different, new during this quarantine time? Talked to Kathy Petrie yesterday, and she's actually she likes to quilt, but she's using her quilting skills right now to make masks. Those are in short supply, so she's making masks right now. So what is it that you're doing right now during this time? So put that in the comments. Last week you gave us some of your favorite songs. The winners were the favorites, It Is Well at the top, Because He Lives, Great Is His Faithfulness, and Living Hope. Those were the tops. Then some others that were mentioned, Amazing Grace and Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone. Holy is He, Didn't He Shine? Love that one. This Soul Light of Mine, The Majesty and Glory of Your Name. That's a good one. In Christ Alone, I Need Thee Every Hour, and When the Roll is Called Up Yonder. Which reminds me, Amy, what was that thing about When the Roll is Called Up Yonder?
Here we go. The roll is called
It says, okay, hey, can you come over here so we can hear it? This was funny because this came through. I think her brother found this and sent it to us. But what does it say?
It says, so the rapture has taken place and we all missed it. Toilet paper shelves are empty because the roll has been called up yonder.
I love it. The roll has been called up yonder because it's clearly not at Walmart. All right, hey, next week, one of the things also that I want to learn during this time is some technology. I'm already learning. Zoom, I'm sure many of you have already done some kind of Zoom meeting, maybe Sunday school, and we're even going to look at doing that maybe even next week for choir as well. Stay tuned on that. But for my Bible study reading, I've been following through the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel. And this past couple days ago, I got to the story where David is having to flee the capital of Jerusalem. David is king, and he's having to flee. His country's in civil war between David's side and Absalom, who's David's son. They're now at war, and David is having to flee. Talk about a time of crisis. I mean, David was in a huge crisis, maybe even the worst moment in his whole life. He's fleeing. He's facing a battle with his son. Talk about a crisis. But it makes me think of what we're going through right now. We're not going through a civil war, but it is definitely a crisis. Not only a medical one, but a financial one, not to mention the disruptions to everyone. Just think about what all those students and teachers are going through right now. Just talking about having things turned upside down. Or those who work in hospitals and those who are first responders, what they're going through right now. I mean, unfathomable just a couple of weeks ago. So the background of the story with David, sins of the family and the consequences of sin. This is kind of the backstory. David's son Absalom rose up and made himself king. In this story, we see a father's mistakes are often reflected in the lives of their children. David had already gone through the cycle of sin and repentance. God had forgiven David, but still the consequences of sin remained. And that's a whole nother lesson that we could talk about, consequences of sin. But in Absalom, David saw a bitter replay and amplification of many of his own sins, his past sins. God had even predicted that David's family would suffer because of the sins David committed against Bathsheba and Uriah. David was definitely heartbroken as he realized that God's word was coming true. Let me read a little of the story to you from 2 Samuel. It says this: a messenger came and told David, the hearts of the people of Israel are with your son Absalom. Then David said to all of his officials who were with him in Jerusalem, come, we must flee, or none of us will escape from Absalom. We must leave immediately, or he will move quickly to overtake us and bring ruin on us and put the city to the sword. David abandoned the capital city. He left his palace that he had built. He left the people of Jerusalem rather than expose the city and its people to attack and destruction, even the possibility of destruction from Absalom and his troops, his forces. The king knew that whatever happened, God would preserve the place that God had chosen for his people. Even in the midst of this crisis, this unbelievable time in David's life, even in the midst of crisis, David had hope. Remember, that's one of our words for this year: peace, joy, and hope. And if you read this whole story in chapter 15 and in 16, you're not going to see the word hope anywhere. But if you read closely, you'll see it in there. Here's two examples. In verse 16 that we just, in verse 16, here's what it says. The king set out with his entire household following behind him, but he left 10 concubines to take care of the palace. That's an interesting statement. So David leaves. I think this showed hope. I think David believed that he would be back because he left 10 ladies there, his concubines, to take care of the palace, to keep it ready, orderly for his return. I think that shows some confidence and hope on David's part. And the second example is from over in verse 24. It says this: Zadok the priest was there too, and all the Levites who were with him. Now they've left Jerusalem. They've crossed over the Kidron Valley, and they're leaving Jerusalem. They're going up the Mount of Olives. So Zadok the priest is there. And they were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God with them. They set the Ark down, and Abiathar offered sacrifices until all the people had finished leaving the city. Then the king said to Zadok, take the Ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the Lord's eyes, he will bring me back. And he will let me see the Ark of the Covenant in its place and be in my dwelling place again. But if God says, I am not pleased with you, then I am ready. Let him do to me whatever seems good to the Lord. So David said, take the ark back. David could have used the ark in his favor. I remember that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. The Nazis have found the Ark of the Covenant, and they're planning to use it as a weapon. Well, that's a great movie, but David really could have used the ark as a weapon, but he chose not to. David chose to do the right thing, to respect God, to respect the ark, and to respect the tabernacle. So he sent Zadok and all the Levites back into Jerusalem with the Ark of the Covenant. David trusted that God would take care of him. He had hope, even in the darkest days of his life. David understood that God's grace is greater than sin. I love this verse. This may be, I think, a good summary statement from the book of Psalms. Psalm 34, verse 18 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Let me read that again. This is a promise I believe David held on to at this time, and we can hold on to it as well. Because this is, what is the lesson we can learn from this story? Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The story goes on. David flees. There is a battle. His son is killed, and David is restored to his kingdom in Jerusalem. But in this moment, David and his followers, his household, they followed him through the Kidron Valley. That's the low point, the valley just outside of Jerusalem. Where the temple is now, right below it, you've seen that wall that goes around Jerusalem, and the temple with the dome with a rock on there now. Right below that, that's the Kidron Valley. And right on the other side is the Mount of Olives, where the Garden of Gethsemane is. So in this story, David was a man of sorrows who stood in sin's destructive wake as a sinner and one who was sinned against. 1,000 years later, Jesus, the great king, would also walk through the same Kidron Valley. He walked this, instead of leaving Jerusalem, Jesus went from the Mount of Olives, from the Garden of Gethsemane, down the Kidron and up the valley and into Jerusalem, facing his trial and crucifixion, where God the Father would lay on Jesus the iniquity of us all. Jesus triumphed to win salvation for all who have faith and hope in him. So even in this time of deep despair, David had hope, and I believe we can have hope in our times of despair as well. You should have received an email today from Pat, and in that there was a copy of the choir notes. We're going to keep you posted that way, and 2 songs that we're going to be singing here. And one of those songs is Great is His Faithfulness. So if you want to find that email right now, maybe you can follow along on your laptop or something, your computer, whatever. I want us to look at the song Great is His Faithfulness. I think this song that we've sung before in church, we were getting ready to do it again here this spring. I think this song is really a good one at this time. And it says this. I don't know if you can hear this well. Preston, would you come hold this? Or Carolyn, you get it. He'll break the chains. He will forgive. Here's that note of hope. It says this, lift your hope, or lift your voice. Your head, whatever, lift your head. Morning is coming, there's more to the story. Don't forget. What's that note? In grief and in glory, still great is his faithfulness. Great words. If you have felt the dark of night, questioning what is out of sight, he is the answer. Next verse. If you have felt broken and betrayed, no one to trust, alone, afraid, he'll comfort you. He knows your name. And with the ache of loss, and why this has been your own to walk, he bore your pain. That's the tenor part. Altos, and you move down. Here's the chorus. Lift your head. Morning is coming, there's more to the story. Don't forget. In grief and in glory, still great is his faithfulness. We hold it out there. In grief and in glory, still great is his faithfulness. I love this next part. We all sing prime unison together. He is present. Here it comes. Lean on it. And back. Keeper. Great is his faithfulness. Guys on the harmony. I'm sorry, we're all together. Not yet. Fortress, still on the melody. Great is his. Here's the parts. Father, comfort. Great is his faithfulness. Redeemer, restorer, sustainer. Great is his faithfulness. Up. This is where we're stacking up those parts. Trust in him, hope in him. Great is his faithfulness. Wait on him, rest in him. Come find your peace again. Trust in him, hope in him. Great is his faithfulness. Go up a half step and go up on hands. That's how that goes. I love this song where it says, he is present. We start together. He is present. Lean in and back off. Helper, keeper, great is his faithfulness. Perfect, sovereign, fortress, great is his faithfulness. Now, tenor stay on the melody, everybody else finds a part. Abba for the basses, alto, soprano. Abba, Father, comfort, great is his faithfulness. Redeemer, restorer, sustainer, great is his faithfulness. Wait on, and this is where we really accent, and we've kind of stacked the parts up here onto. Stuff, but more importantly, a great message. Great is his faithfulness. We can indeed trust in him, hope in him, for great indeed is his faithfulness. Love that great word. Whenever we come back, that's going to be one of the first songs we do in those first couple of weeks. I can't wait whenever that is. It'd be wonderful. My prayer is this thing ends quickly. That we can be back on Easter. But you know what? Every Sunday is Resurrection Sunday. So no matter when we're coming back, we'll be celebrating resurrection as every Sunday really is the reason we're meeting on a Sunday. Christ arose on Sunday. That's what the pattern was of the early church. Okay, remember, keep your comments coming. And Amy's going to take she's kind of following along, is going to give us an update on some of the interesting things that you're posting there. What are you doing that's special or different during this time? Hey, let's look at one other song, this King of Kings. I need to use the notebook. Okay, here's King of Kings. Let's just look at the chorus. So it's also one of the PDFs that Pat sent to you. I'm so grateful for Pat and all the great work she does, even from home now, which I guess most of us are working or trying to work from home. So the chorus goes like this. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Basses and sopranos are doing the same melody together. That last phrase, praise forever to the King of Kings. Now, let's look at the alto part. We're going to start working on some parts here. Even at online choir practice. Altos, I'm coming at you. Here we go. Your part is this. Praise the... And you're up. Praise. Ready. Praise the Father. Praise the Son. Breath. Praise the Spirit. Three in one. Same idea. God of glory. Majesty. That's a big jump. God of glory, majesty. Support that. Praise forever to the King of Kings. Alto, last line. Praise forever to the King of Kings. By the way, I'm at measure 15 if you are following along in your music. Tenor. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. Same idea. God of glory, majesty. That's a weird one. Majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Last line, tenor. Praise forever to the King of Kings. Put it all together. Basses, tenor, alto. Praise the Pretty simple, straightforward song, but I love it. It's a great word of praise, a song of praise. The beginning, in the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven